Good evening, fellow Plexers. Tonight's video is going out to Roger, who owns a Synology DS1815. He picked it up used, and he wants to see if Plex will run on it. Now, it's really just powerful enough to be a file server, but they say Plex will direct stream off a potato, so he's going to give it a try, and if it doesn't work out, he'll keep his media there and move Plex someplace else. So, it has an Intel Atom C2538 quad-core 2.4 gigahertz processor, which sounds more impressive than it is. He's let me know that the last DSM update that it took is 7.1.1-42962. And from my little bit of research, it looks like Container Manager can be run, but we're going to show him how to install a package of Plex. If that runs fine, he can use a container version if he wants to. So Roger, right off the bat, you might want to check with this guy, Will, from the SpaceRex YouTube channel. He's got this complete beginner's guide for Synology NAS for 2023 DSM 7.2. It should be very similar to a setup for your new used NAS for DSM 7.1.1. And if you search his channel, he may have a DSM 7 setup video. But it's very important that you set it up correctly. I know you're running RAID 5. You want to make sure you disable the default admin account after creating your own admin account. I like SHR better. It's Synology Hybrid RAID, but RAID 5 should suit you fine. And just he's going to give you the best tips to create a user account and set passwords. You really should set passwords that are very difficult to crack. He won't lead you here, but I like how to secure my password, or how secure is my password. I don't know what this is, but whatever it was, it's 15 billion years. That's not enough for me. This is my territory. And you can use some passphrases with some numbers thrown in or some exclamation points that really aren't too hard to remember. Let's see what this is. All right. So this is my easy to remember password for my Plex user account that I use to log in to access my files. Now it probably should be better than 15 billion years, but that's how long it takes a computer to crack. So it really isn't hard. A couple more characters gets me that. 3 more characters get me that. So I should probably upgrade my passwords. Anyway, I love security.org to test passwords out in. And I type them out into a text document first, or even I type them right into a Google Docs note, and then I paste them wherever I want to use them. So there's never a mistype. Okay, so Will is great. He's the Synology NAS guru. So I'm into DSM. I'm using my older DS1019 Plus NAS. I do have a Docker install test Plex server here, and I had a package installed, but I just nuked it to start fresh. So there's 2 ways we can go here, but it all starts with the package center, and you simply search for Plex. Now you can install this right out of the package center, but it's going to be a little outdated, but I'm going to suggest we go that route. If you go to Plex, to the downloads, you just basically Google. Well, let's kill that. Just Google Plex downloads. Your first hit is going to be this. the Plex Media Server will already be highlighted with this tab. Change the operating system, and you have 3 Synology choices. I have to pick this version because that's the version of DSM I'm running. You will pick this version. So if I click on this, I can choose my package, and I know I'm running an Intel AMD 64-bit compatible one. Yours should be the ARM7, but we don't have to do it this way. We can just download the version that Synology has in its package center. So I'm just going to click install. Now, you don't need to worry about a claim token for a brand new Plex server, so just go next with a normal install. All right, so this is the version we're installing, and let me pull up my web app. Let me go to my regular server. So the current version is 1.41.5.9522. So we are a few versions behind, and that's fine. We will catch up. So I'm going to run it after installation and just click done. Now hopefully I'll get a pop-up telling me how to enable permissions. And I don't know how I'm going to show that, but this is the pop-up here. So take a screenshot of this to save it so you can refer to it when you have to set your permissions. But you open Control Panel, you select Shared Folders, select the share where your media is and click Edit. Click the Permission tab, change the drop down from Local Users to System Internal Users, check the Read-Write checkbox for the Plex Media user, and then click Save to confirm the new permissions, and then repeat the steps for any other shared folder you want to have Plex have access to. Now I'm going to use my local file manager to show you the contents of the shared folder on this NAS instead of DSM. My suggestion before you get this installed is to make sure all your media is in one shared media folder. And I know you're interested in a trash guide setup. Forget NZBGit, and concentrate on SOB NZBD. If you go to the trash guides, their folder structure is different from mine. I have one shared media folder called Media. It's lowercase. The trash guides is going to use lowercase spelling also. So you can call this shared media folder anything you want. The Plex install created this shared media folder. Do not put your media into the Plex application folder. So I like to use sort folders for different types of Plex libraries. So here's a movie library sort folder. It's not likely anyone will have multiple music libraries in Plex, so this is just named music to be a music library. Other dash libraries would be for other videos. Photo dash libraries would be for different photo libraries. TV dash libraries would be for different TV libraries. So if I click into this, ignore some of the stuff because I use this for my FileBot videos. So let me boot that. So here are your actual folder structures that Plex would point a library at. This would be for the main TV show library if you were going to have more than one. And then once you enter that, you return to using uppercase with spaces. And everything before that, there's no spaces and no uppercase letters. So I could have a library point here and just call it TV show in Plex. If I wanted a separate kids TV show library, I could name it anything I wanted and have it point at this folder to capture what's inside. Same thing with an anime collection. You can have a separate structure for that. And what really works nice with a trash guide setup, especially with Usenet, is you can point Sonar at this to be your root folder, and then when you add a show, you can direct Sonar to any of the subfolders within, which are your actual Plex library folders. So if you're collecting anime into a separate library in Plex, it needs to be in its own separate folder structure, and Radar can direct those shows to this structure, regular TV shows to this structure, and even kids shows to this structure. I'm sorry, Sonar. But the same is true with Radar. Radar can pull things into multiple folder structures. Main movies, regular movies can go here. Little kids movies can go here. Documentaries here if you want. There's a lot of concerts that are listed at movies because they've been released on DVD and Blu-ray. You can have a musical concert library. 4K content can be sorted out. The only thing that Radar can't do is pull the same movie twice for different libraries. So if you're pulling a movie that's 4K, you're only pulling it once into this library. Or you have to choose to pull the regular version into this library. So that's kind of where that's it, and that's why sort folders are, I think, something that makes it easier, and it just makes for a less messy shared media folder. So again, we're in the shared media folder called media. If you had a flat structure and you were having 3 separate TV libraries, they'd all be at this level. If you had 4 separate movie libraries, they'd also be at this level, plus your music folder, plus however many photos or other video libraries you might have. So this gives you room to branch out with multiple libraries and have it all in a nice nested structure. I can click into my movie library sort folder and then into the actual library folder that a Plex library is pointed at. So I probably spend too much time on this, but this good housekeeping pays off in the long run. Even if you upgrade your Synology NAS and move your drives to a faster system, it's just going to work out for you. And remember, the rule for no spaces and no uppercase letters until you get into the actual Plex structure. And these are all perfectly compliant based on all Plex's naming guides. My FileBot expression does all this, and that's a video too. So that's what you want to do for your structure. So definitely screenshot this. So that's pasted to my clipboard. I'd have to open up GIMP and paste it in and save it, but at least you've got it. So why don't I do that on the side so I can refer to it also? Okay, so I don't need to save it, I'll just refer to it. We're going to click OK, and Plex is already open. What I would suggest is stopping it and now you can go and follow these instructions. So I have to be careful so I don't give away my admin account name. All right, so we're going to go to Control Panel, Shared Folder, and then we're going to select the share where the media is, and then I'll click Edit. And let me just pull this off screen before I hit the Permission tab. That's where I'll see my default admin account that the NAS came with that I've disabled. I'll see the user for myself I've created. I'll see the new admin account I created, and I'll also see a guest. So the only users that are enabled on mine are my new admin account and my default user account. So you'll see a spot where it says local users. I'm going to hit the drop down to the right and change that to system internal users. Now let me just check. I think I can show everything here. I'll bring this back on the screen, and all I have to do is click read write for Plex Media Server. And then you save the changes. And I didn't have any changes to save, so you'll have to put your admin account, your admin username and a password in. And now you've given the new Plex install permission to access this media. All right, so let's start Plex up. So I'll go back to Package Center. I'll click Installed, and I'll click Run for Plex. Now, especially on a slower NAS, why don't you set a timer and just set it for 5 minutes and come back when it's ready. Now, if memory serves me, when I open this is going to open with Quick Connect. So I'm going to click Open, but I'm going to take it off the screen. Didn't quite do that fast enough. I didn't need to take that off the screen. I needed the new window off the screen. Okay, luckily that page isn't working. So if it doesn't open up, I'll show you how to access the NAS or the Plex server. So let's bring this in. Let me search this. I want this support article. This is how we're going to access the NAS with this structure. So let me just bring this over. This is my scratch pad for the video. I'm going to paste that in. Paste it in twice. I need to replace this with my own local IP address. If you don't know it, you can look in the settings of your router to find it, or you can look in DSM. Let's do it this way. So we can close the package center down. We can go to the control panel and then find the networking app. Where is that? That's someplace that I'm not looking, right there. And then we can let's see, what do I want to click on? Network interface. This is the local IP address. Don't know if I can copy it, but I can type it out. So I'm going to highlight this. So it's got to be in this format, http://, the actual IP address, and you can't get in trouble for showing or disclosing your local IP address. So this Synology NAS is running at 192.168.68.116, Plexus internal port 32400/web. So now if I go back to my web browser, it's off screen, and paste that address in the URL, we're going to claim the server. So how Plex works, blah, 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 got it. So this is where you name the server. And I'm going to bring my scratch pad up and name it the same way that I had it before I deleted it. And if you port forward and do not have yourself double natted or are not using a ISP that uses CGNAT, where you kind of share an external IP address, you can port forward on your router to allow access outside your home. So I'll leave this checked. And I have another remote access video that you can follow to get that done. What we'll do is we'll get Plex installed, and I'll show you how to add a couple libraries and how to set a movie library up with preferences you may like, and a TV show library up with preferences you may like. And while that's going, let's show this. So this is a master list of all the support articles, and you can kind of jump to your media. This article and that article are the two Bibles to start learning and being able to recite chapter and verse. Basically, you can name a movie from its entry at either IMDb or TVDB. This is the simple name. That'll be a folder for the movie. Inside it will be the file named exactly the same way. It talks about using the source ID from either IMDb or TMDB. It can be in both the folder name and the file name, but it has to be at least in the folder name. And it gives you a whole bunch of different naming examples. So basically, you're not going to take scene release file names and just throw them in a folder and point Plex at them. You're going to rename them. And if we back up, it tells you all about how to name for a TV show, and you pull naming here from either TMDB or TVDB. So TMDB lists TV shows and movies, so it has to be listed as a TV show from TMDB or as a TV show from TVDB in order to add it. I'm looking for some examples, and I can't think and talk at the same time. Okay, here's the examples. So TMDB always has the year in the proper name, so that's just a copy and paste. TVDB doesn't usually have the year in the proper name, so you just grab the proper name and add the year manually. And in 90% of the cases, it's going to be the same no matter which database you pull from. So the show folder, season 01, the show folder used as the first part of the episode name. A space dash space is the official separator between parts of a Plex episode file name. And then it's the season episode coding. It could be capital S01, capital E01, or lowercase s01, lowercase e01. You see that official separator again, space dash space. And then the proper episode name is optional. And then .mp4, .mkv, or .avi, whatever you happen to have. So this is an example of a show being named from TVDB if you look it up. The original Office was from the UK, and I thought it was just named Office, but maybe it's named Office UK in parentheses. The English one is named The Office US in parentheses. Neither one has the year as part of their proper name, so you add that in manually. But Plex is showing The Office UK with a year in the folder name, but not in the file name. I'm not sure if that's intentional or accidental. But anyway, I've got videos talking about all this in reference with FileBot and proper naming. Let's go back to the Plex server. So now we're here, and it did sign in automatically. You doing it the first time, you'll have to link it with your Plex account. So I'm going to add my first movie library. I'll click movie, and I can name it whatever I want, but this will point to my default movie library, so I'll just let it be movies. Next, lets me browse for media. Now, it's on volume 1, and it's the media folder lowercase right here. Now I'm going to point to my sort folder for movie libraries, and I'm going to point to my main movie library folder, and I see my movie folders here. Now I'll click add. You can go into the advanced and decide if you want to add automatic collections from TMDB. So by default, it's disabled. And I guess I have to show that quickly. I always think of something else to add to a video midstream. All right, I always use the same example, and now I'm drawing a blank. There it is. So the Back to the Future trilogy. If I click into the first movie, again, naming is easy. Copy and paste, that's the folder name. Copy and paste, that's the file name, and that's the most simplest way to name, and Plex will match it. If I slide down, there's a collection. I can click into it and see all the movies that are part of the collection. So back to adding a library. If you change this to 1, 2, 3, or 4, 1 will add the collection even if you only have one of the movies in your library. 2 is where I set it at. It won't add that collection until you have at least 2 movies from the collection. Some movies or some collections only have 2 movies. Back to the Future has 3. Fast and Furious has, I don't know, about 15 by now. And then you can decide how you want to display them. This will display the actual collection in the movie library tab along with a new tab that says collection. If you want to hide collections but show their items, that only applies to the library tab. And if you want to hide items in the collection so you only see the collection from the library tab, these are the options. And then show collections and their items is the default setting. So we'll leave it at that. We're not going to see any collections. So now you simply add the library. I'm going to add a second movie library. And I'll rename this one different. I'll click next, browse, same volume 1, same media shared folder, the same movie library sort folder, and now I'll click into the movie-documentary structure. There's only one movie here. I'll click add, and again, I'll quickly set the advanced to pull the collections the way I like it. Now we'll add another library, but this time the main TV show library. I'll leave that name alone. Browse for media. It's getting repetitive. Volume 1, media shared folder. This time the TV-library sort folder. In my main TV library structure. Click add. Now, depending whether you're named from TMDB or TVDB, you have a choice. I think everybody should name from TVDB because there's a lot of virtual series there. I talk about that a lot in my FileBot videos. But basically, TMDB is very structured and very restrictive because it only lists episodes that actually aired on TV or streamed. Sometimes a special or sometimes an extra from a Blu-ray or DVD rip will be listed as a special at TVDB, but never at TMDB. So you get more use out of naming from TVDB. So I'm going to hit the Advanced tab and change my episode ordering to TVDB. If you're only going to name from the movie database, don't bother with this step and skip it. My media is already named from TVDB, so that's what I'm doing. And now I'll add library. Let's add a second library. Let's add the anime one. There's the E. Same little dance through the directory tree, volume 1. Media. The TV library sort folder and the anime folder. And add. And again, because I named from the DB database. I change episode ordering to that. Add. Now let's add a music library. Browse, volume 1, media. And again, remember I said it's not likely people will have an extra music library and probably just have one. So that folder is my actual library folder. And I'm not going to change anything with the advanced settings there, and I'll add the library. Now I'll hit next, and it tells you to get some apps. So I'll click done. Now I'm into the server. This arrow up means I have a server update. But right now, Plex is still working, scanning the media. So don't stop the server now and update it. And with your slower processor, this is going to take a while. So if you want, you could maybe add one small library instead of adding a bunch like I just did, and then go update the server. So this is getting long. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video. We're over 31 minutes now. And when all of this is done, I'll show you how to update this. So I'll be right back. Well, it's not done, but I thought of something else to talk about. So this is a direct IP address login. You can bookmark this. Now, again, Plex may open this up with a quick connect address that may work. It didn't work on mine. But this is just one way to log into the web app. Now, you can log into the web app from anywhere in the world. You don't have to be home with an app.plex.tv login. So I'm just going to type in the URL window app.plex.tv. Now my web browser is already signed in, and this is going to bring me into my main server with my normal Plex library showing. So I'm going to hit the settings icon here, and this is my main server, and these are the test servers. This was the Docker container version that I shut down, so this red triangle just means it's unavailable. This is the one we just installed, and that shows is unavailable too. So let me refresh that just to make sure that stays unavailable. All right, so I don't think I've claimed that yet. So let's go back to this, and I'll go to the settings here. And okay, so you see how it's checked here, but it still says unavailable. Let me go to General. Okay, so it does say claimed by my email address for my Plex account. And it tells me there's an update available. So I can't save changes. All right, so I'll just have to wait, and we'll see if it clears everything in the web app once we get it updated. All right, so I'll wait for this detecting intros and detecting credits to stop. It looks like it just has a little bit left to do. Well, actually, I can show you the libraries while we wait. So I'm just in the settings, and I went down to libraries under manage. Here's the movies that pulled in. And you've got the recommended library and collections tab. So because I had a bunch of dummy files for a previous video named for the Harry Potter movies, it did create a collection automatically. So if I go to the documentary movie library, recommended library, there's only the one movie. Back out of it. We'll go to the TV show library. Recommended library shows all the series. Now, these shows aren't all public domain, but I have all public domain episodes, so I could actually show an episode playing and not get a YouTube copyright strike. If I go into, well, let me show you something first. So, just in case, these are not real Harry Potter files. These are dummy files that are 15 seconds long.
Good evening, fellow Plexers. This is just a simple...
So I don't have any copywritten material on this test server. So if I go into the anime library, the same thing. These aren't real shows. These are dummy files. So I can click on library and I see the 3 shows, and we'll click into this. They're named from TVDB and it's pulling all the correct metadata. But again, these are not real shows. You see it's 5 seconds long, so it's just a dummy file. It's a different dummy file because the last one I showed you was 15 seconds long. All right, let's see how we're doing. All right, you know what? I'm not going to wait for it. I'm going to do the server update. So right here, I can click on server update. And I can look at the release notes. I can skip this version, or I can download now. This is where Plex automatically knows which one to get for you, and you don't have to decide ahead of time. So it's going to go to my busy download folder. So I'll hit save. And now I'll go back to DSM, which is just opened in its own window. It's a Chrome web app that I've created. So I'll go back to Package Center. I'll click into Plex Media Server. I'll click the drop down arrow and I'll choose stop. Now if we go back to our web app, we already see that it's unavailable. If I go back in and change to this server, it's just not... Well, I can't do it that way. Let me do it this way. It shouldn't be there. Let's see. Oh, I haven't actually answered this yet. I have to actually say yes to stopping it. And pretty soon I won't be able to see these libraries. Right there. Server settings are unavailable. All right, so now that it's stopped, I can click this manual update, browse, go to downloads, well, has it not downloaded yet? Okay, so my Google Chrome browser thinks it's insecure, so I'm going to click keep. Now it's here. Yours will have a different file name because it's not the same version. I'll select. Then down here, let's make this full screen. I'll click next. I'll agree. The package is not provided by Synology. Click done. It's updating. Again, it tells you how to gain permissions, but you do not have to do it twice. Now I'll click run. Now it's running. Now, certain updates take longer than others before you can access Plex. Your CPU isn't as powerful as this one, so it may not come up as quick, but if I refresh, you see I'm right here. And that scanning that was going on, detecting intros, that will just automatically start later. So now let's make sure we're signed in fully. Under General, I'm signed in. Let's see what happens in the web app now. The app.plex.tv. So now this sees the server fully too, just like it sees my other test servers. I can switch to that unraid test server, and switch back to this package install on this DS1019. So that's how you install it. That's how you set your permissions. That's how you add libraries. And that's how you update it. And again, I just want to stress, and this time let's do it through DSM. Couple things. Let's go to File Station. No media can go in the application folder. Have one separate shared media folder, especially if you want a trash guides install, because that will enable atomic moves. And the trash guides explains all that. And it also explains how a lot of Docker guides, even from the container maintainers, give you bogus path examples that use multiple shared media folders, and that will prevent you from achieving atomic moves. Basically, you treat this shared folder like a separate hard drive versus another shared folder, which would be another shared hard drive. You can test this on your own local system. On one drive, you can copy a huge file from one folder to another, and it moves over you can cut and paste it, and it moves over instantaneously. Now, if you do the same thing with a huge file from one drive to another, now it's a copy plus delete function. You have to wait until it's fully copied before it gets deleted in the original location. So having a trash guide set up that has atomic moves achieved is super fast. But the issue with Roger's older NAS is it may be a lot of resources going on for a low-powered processor, and he might get better performance just using the NAS to store the media and locate the trash guides off from the NAS on something faster, maybe even with Plex server itself. He'll introduce moving files across the network, but that may be preferred over a slow operation on a slow, older Atom processor. So, Roger, that's it. Feel free to ask me questions. I'll answer what I can. And let me get this up on YouTube and out to you.